Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Lunch Bros Podcast, episode number 141. I am Brendan. UFC Fight Night, Calvin Kattar versus Josh Emmett. What a banger, guys. Remember last week when I said that was one of the best cards because it was active and there's some really good fights on it? Forget it. This one, just all killer, no filler, just freaking finishes left and right. You know, not everything went the way you want it to necessarily, because sometimes there were some weird split decisions. Sometimes like your favorite fighter or a old school fighter kind of passes the torch on and in a less than satisfying way. But boy, if you did not watch this card, go back and watch start to finish, prelim to main event. Everything's worth watching. That being said, if you are watching this and you like the UFC, if you like MMA, if you like podcasts in general, I talk about all of that stuff. I do at least 2 or 3 videos a week, and I cover MMA. I go fight by fight, round by round, and I usually break it down, give my opinion on it, and then I like to have an open discussion with you guys and seeing what you guys think about the fights and whether or not I'm out of my gourd or if I'm on the right track. Cool. All right, moving on. Let's get going. Josh Emmett versus Calvin Kattar, main event. So Josh Emmett getting the win here via split decision. Sorry. I thought maybe today my nose would clear up and stuff, but it's still bad from yesterday. I still have a ton of allergy stuff going on. So Josh Emmett getting the win here via split decision. Now, we'll go round by round here. This was a very close fight. You can even look here on the striking numbers: 14-11, 22-26, 19-27, 41-21, 34-22, and the biggest difference being, the first and second round were close. It's just there was a lot of action in this fight after the first round. Right, there was a lot of action, not necessarily a lot of contact, but a lot of movements. It was hard to decipher, what really landed from Josh Emmett. Was it just moving Kattar back? Did that influence the judges' decisions? Let's get into it. By the way, I wrote as a note before the fight even started, I think Emmett is a harder matchup for Volkanovski, who is the current champ. As far as who's a harder matchup for Holloway, well, we already know how the Calvin Kattar Max Holloway fight went down. So I don't think Kattar has made a big enough advancement or made big enough improvements to change the outcome of that fight in any significant way. So Josh Emmett versus Max Holloway is also an interesting matchup that hasn't happened. I don't know if he has what it takes to beat Max Holloway. I don't think he's necessarily. I think Max Holloway is a bad matchup for Josh Emmett. I think Max Holloway is a bad matchup for a lot of people. But I think Josh Emmett is a good matchup. Is a bad matchup for Volkanovski. I think with his wrestling base, the fact that he hits with power, him and Volkanovski have a lot of similarities. Obviously, Volkanovski's a more advanced striker when it comes to his repertoire and the way that he throws things out there. Obviously, he's coming from city kickboxing, having that base in the amount of feints that they throw out, the experience that they get working in that camp. I understand that his striking is above Josh Emmett's as far as complexity, but as far as effectiveness, I think Josh Emmett's is as effective as Volkanovski's in his current matchups and from what we've seen. Now, Josh Emmett also has power. I know that Volkanovski also, he's got power as well, but Josh Emmett hits hard, man. He really does. That right hand is thunderous. And he sets it up really well, even though it's very basic. He sets it up really well with his movements, his quick explosions in the pocket. It's got that Johnny Hendricks, the big rig Johnny Hendricks before he became Fat Rig. It's got that kind of thud to it, like that step-in thud when he hits with that punch. And he's just, I think, he's a bad matchup for Volkanovski. Not that Volkanovski can't win, just that I think the matchup makes it very difficult for Volkanovski to show out like he has in the past against his previous opponents, not named Max Holloway. Although he did. He's performed very well against Max Holloway in both fights, by the way. Okay, so let's go round by round and let's see how I put it. Let's see if you agree with me here. But this fight was very close. You can look at the striking numbers. We will go look at the judges' scorecards. I pulled that up as well. We will go to see who was on the right track, if anybody was out of their off the rocker or anything like that. Okay, cool. So Emmett was loading up on that right hand, not landing flush on Kattar. He didn't do much, and then Calvin Kattar was jabbing more, but both guys were just waiting in that first round a lot. Like I said, after the first round, the activity level picked up heavily, right? You look from 39 to 35 as far as attempted strikes in favor of Kattar, and then look at the rate in the second round, how it spikes, or it doubles, right? 78 to 73. It literally doubled, more than doubled in Emmett's case, for the amount of strikes attempted. Now, obviously, the amount of strikes landed didn't double for both men, but the activity level went up. There was just a long feeling out process in that first round, and because of that, I gave that first round to Kattar. Oh, you know what? No, I didn't. Everybody was talking. Okay, so sorry, that's my bad. Emmett with that, he had this little late flurry, and he had this later punch that moved Kattar around in the end of that round. I thought it might have stolen that round. I was leaning towards Kattar. That's what it was. I was leaning towards Kattar up until that point. But Emmett landed really hard to the body. I think that was enough to sway it as far as the damage went in favor of Emmett in that first round. Now, this is important. This is the round, right? This is one of the rounds that's very important to judge here. I think Emmett did more damage. Now, the striking numbers are in favor of Kattar as far as control goes and all those other things. Like, there wasn't much else to grade on here. And to be honest, as far as total strikes attempted, they were pretty even, so one guy wasn't offering way more offense than the other. It was a feeling out process, and I think Emmett landed some more impactful shots, even if they didn't necessarily hit like the target the way they were intended. Even ones bouncing off the arms, that's still damage. I understand. Like, we're talking about, inches here. We're talking about millimeters when it comes to separation between these two guys in this first round, because there wasn't a clear winner. And if you think there was a clear winner, you're crazy. There's a discussion to be had here, and in my opinion, I went with Emmett. Now, the rest of the fight gets a little bit easier for me to judge. So the jab from Kattar was really landing well in that second round, and there was a cut above Emmett's left eye that kept getting worse and worse. Emmett did land some of the big looping shots to the body in that second round, some really big shots, and these guys were just answering everything that the other guy put out. And you can see it in the striking numbers. They're very close, right? So any time there was one guy who landed a couple good shots and it looked like the tide was shifting, the other one would start to land a couple. I think that Emmett took that second round again for the same reason he took the first. And if you look at the striking numbers, he was ahead on the striking numbers, 26 to 22, and he had the more impactful shots. Now, round number 2 went to Emmett, in my opinion. And because of this, these first 3 rounds here. So I gave the next round to Emmett as well. Emmett started the round out really well, landing big shots up top. Kattar was working on getting those points back throughout the round, but he just didn't do enough in that third round. Easiest round to score for me so far was round 3 for Josh Emmett. So I gave him the first 3 rounds. I had him up 30-27, meaning Calvin Kattar needed a finish or a 10-8 to not lose this fight, in my opinion. Now, there were some really interesting exchanges in these next couple rounds. I'm still going to go over them, but there were some really interesting exchanges early on in this fight that kind of dictated how things were going to go later. And Kattar just needed to turn on that switch just a fraction earlier. And I think he could have won this fight, because he could have. Like I said, he was so close in round 1. It's just a razor thin. Round 2 was Josh Emmett. That's fine. You want to give a round here to measure things like that. But if he just turned it on just a little bit earlier in round 3, he could have kept round 3 close as well, and I think really pulled ahead in 4 and 5, maybe even got the finish. Emmett doesn't really get tired. He hits hard, but Kattar's skills really stepped up in the last couple rounds, and that it's maybe not necessarily physical fatigue, although that it does play a factor, but there's this mental fatigue you can see during some fights where the guys still have their legs under them, they still have the cardio to go the distance, but maybe just all of the activity and the thinking in there and the action and staying in the flow state and all those things, it just takes a toll on your body and your, like, I would call it mental cardio. Like after at work or when you were in school, after a long day, you just feel exhausted, even though you didn't do anything physical. Your brain was just working really hard, and like you just get this mental fog and this mental fatigue. I think Kattar's strategy or Kattar's technique kind of did that to Emmett a little bit, because eventually later in the fight, whether it be, like I said, physical or mental, Emmett just wasn't able to land at the same rate that he was in the third and the second round anymore. Now, his second round went 26 of 73, 27 of 77 in round 3. So now 21 of 80. So his output went up, but his accuracy went down, right? So that's what I'm saying. So Kattar wasn't really doing anything that much different. Obviously, he was moving well the entire fight for most of the time, getting caught a few times by Emmett. But in this fourth round, you could really see that that jab really started to take its toll. He started putting power behind his right hand. He actually rocked Emmett just for a little bit. In the last round, Kattar landed this really heavy, heavy jab over and over again, snapping Emmett's head back. The flurries from Emmett were less effective in the later rounds, and Kattar just had a constant flow of damage. And like I said, I don't know if it's fatigue. Maybe there's other explanations of it, but even Emmett's output in the last round went down, as well as his connection rate went back to where it kind of floated the entire fight, as far as in the mid-30s, the low to mid-30s. But his output also went down, whereas Kattar. I mean, Kattar's accuracy went up. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Emmett necessarily was tired, but he was a more stationary target. He was there to be hit. The movement of Kattar was finally starting to take its toll, and Kattar is a 5-round fighter, and he was right in the analysis saying that he would have the advantages in the later round versus Emmett, and he looked better. He really did. It's just he didn't do enough in these first 3 rounds here to really separate himself and give himself a good case to win. Now, if you gave him the first round, I'm not mad at you, and I'm okay with it. And if he, like one of the judges did, and we're going to go through that. And I was like, this last round had to go to Kattar, but I still had Emmett 48-47. I could see it going the other way, right? So let's look at the judges' scorecards here just to kind of see how this worked out. So let's see. Judge Chris Lee. Chris Lee gave that first round to Emmett. Second round to Kattar. Okay. The third and the fourth round to Emmett. And then the fifth round to Kattar. So his scorecard was all over the place, in my opinion. I don't think that's correct. Although freaking Doug Crosby also agrees with that. No, he didn't. No, he gave Calvin. He's the one who gave Calvin Kattar. So here's where. But he gave Calvin Kattar the second round. Dude, Calvin Kattar got rocked in the second round, and he took those big shots. This is a bad card. This is a bad card, guys. This is a bad scorecard. This one is maybe excusable. Maybe, but that fourth round, again, I gave that to Kattar. That's not a good card either, fellas. I don't think these are good. Dude, yeah, I know that here, Saul D'Amato agrees with me as far as how the rounds went, and that's not the best. That's not the biggest endorsement of my skills or abilities as a judge, necessarily. But I think Saul D'Amato had it right here. If you gave that first round to Kattar, I'm not complaining. I'm not mad at him. But, the last 2 rounds were clearly Kattar's, and the middle 2, the 2 and 3 were clearly Emmett's. The only, maybe number 2. No, number 2 was the easiest round to score for Emmett. How did these two guys give Calvin Kattar that second round? hold on. Maybe I'm not maybe I'm crazy. Oh, no. Third round was the easiest one. I'm sorry. Round 2 was also close. Okay. I'm a little bit off. My bad. So round 2 was a little bit close, but I still thought Emmett took that one. But two guys gave it to Kattar. I thought the first round would have been the one that they would have been split on. Anyway, congratulations to Josh Emmett. He is going to fight for a title next, I hope. There's no reason for him to fight anybody else. He is ranked number 7. He just beat number 4, in a close fight, but in a high skill level fight like this, I think that win was convincing as far as his contention for the title and his bid for the title shot. Yair Rodrigues and Brian Ortega are fighting each other, and that's not that interesting anyway. I mean, the fight itself is very interesting. I'm very excited for that fight coming up. But Brian Ortega has already fought for the title versus both of these guys, Max Holloway and Volkanovski. So if he beats Yair, there's no output for him, no recourse really. I mean, he got kind of destroyed by both guys there. As far as Yair Rodrigues, he has not faced Volkanovski, so that could be a fun matchup, but he did face Holloway in what people thought was relatively competitive when you watch it, or when you watch it the first time, but you go back and look at those numbers. Holloway was dominating pretty much the entire fight. Sorry. My nose is going crazy. So I bring all that up because Josh Emmett's going to end up bouncing all the way to the top here. Arnold Allen is the only other one in here who hasn't fought a lot of these guys and doesn't have a current matchup against anyone up here. So you could have him fight Calvin Kattar maybe after this fight. A rough going for Calvin Kattar, you know. Fighting Holloway. He beat Giga he just had a rough go of it lately. I mean, physically, not necessarily wins and losses. He's gotten, like I said, he beat Giga, but he's just taken so much damage, and I think he needs to take some time, really get back to, not to basics necessarily, but he needs to get back to training and probably take it easy just for a little bit. He doesn't need to keep doing this to his body. For all of our enjoyment, though, by the way. Okie dokes. Let's do this. Co-main event, even though it was supposed to be Donald Cowboy Cerrone and Joe Lozon for the second time, that got canceled. Tim Means taking on Kevin Holland. So this is one of the ones I was referring to when, one of the older guys goes out in a less than satisfying way. Although Tim Means had his moments in this fight. Both guys were landing during these blitzes in the first round. Kevin Holland ended up getting the win in the second round via Darce choke. So Means was landing these nice short shots on the inside, and Holland was throwing big looping punches and landing on the separation. Holland was doing some real damage, and Tim ended up going for the clinch in the first round. Holland clearly won that first round. Easy peasy, 10-9. Both guys were staying in the pocket. They were landing big, and Holland was just getting the better of the exchanges. And in the second round, it was kind of more of the same. Holland rocked him bad and then cinched up a Darce choke. So Kevin Holland back in the win column is 2 wins in a row here. Thank God. I didn't want Kevin Holland to turn into a guy who was trading wins and losses because he is fun to watch. He's a fun guy. He's relatively respectful when it comes to the fight game. He's got an incredible skill level. His ceiling is he's got such a high skill ceiling. It's just going to be, it would be really unfortunate to see him turn into like a journeyman type fighter or a guy who keeps taking on challenges before he's ready. Not before he's ready, but yeah, I mean, the timing, right? The timing in someone's career. You take someone like Kevin Holland, who I think has the ability to be a champion at welterweight. I really do. I think he has the skills. I think he has the mentality. I think he has the marketability. I think he has everything to be a great champion in the UFC at welterweight. Middleweight's a bit of a stretch because I think he's a little overpowered and undersized. But that being said, he has taken on challenges very early in his career. Taking on Derek, he beat Jacare Souza in 2020, and before then, we don't need to talk about all this stuff. Wow, he has had so many UFC fights. And he's only been fighting in the UFC since 2018. 4 years, and he's got how many fights in the UFC? 14? Holy shit. So his first fight, stepping up on, I don't know if it was short notice, but taking on Thiago Santos and, having his moments, but clearly getting dominated. Then beating some guys, beating Gerald Meerschaert, Alessio Di Chirico. Good wins there. Losing to Brendan Allen, who's on his own tear. Beating Anthony Hernandez. Joaquin Buckley, who's made a little bit of a career resurgence this year. Darren Stewart, Charlie Ontiveros, and whatever. Jacare Souza, a classic, but maybe a little bit past his prime. But it was that weird knockout where he did it from his back. It's just incredible. And then losing to Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson, stopping the hype train. Losing the Marvin Vettori fight. Marvin Vettori is just a tough nut to crack, man. He's got a crazy chin. He doesn't go away, and he's got an awkward style. The Kyle Dawkins weird ending. Right, it got stopped due to a foul. Kevin Holland, he has what it takes, man. It's just he has stepped up very early in his career, this level of competition, and it's not that I don't think he's physically ready for it or mentally ready for it. It's just skill-wise, putting it all together. Everything about him, he's just not ready to make that leap into title contention just yet. He's so close. He's so close, right? So let's not dial it back because now he just beat Tim Means, but, let's not throw him against guys in the top 5, not throw him against guys in the top 10. Let's, let him get his feet under him at welterweight, because I think he has what it takes to challenge the best of the best, especially if he shores up some of that wrestling stuff. At this weight class, I think that's doable. But incredible fighter, incredible fight, good win for him. Okie dokie here. Albert Duraev versus Joaquin Buckley. So these guys used to be training partners. There was some beef, blah, blah, blah. There was a whole lot of activity in that first round and not a lot of actual contact. So that was fun. But Buckley landed a huge head kick at one point. Not a lot of contact, meaning not a lot of these shots landed. 13 of 70 for Joaquin Buckley is what I mean, right? So Buckley landed a huge head kick and rocked Duraev, but Albert got up really quick and recovered. Buckley landed a straight left and dropped Duraev, but Albert was right back up again. Not an accurate round for Buckley, but not because he had a lot of wasted movement, but he did get the big damage, and it was clearly a 10-9 for him. Duraev really needed to step up the grappling and kind of control Buckley and slow him down, but he just didn't get it done in that first round. Second round, it wasn't exactly the same, although Buckley did land some really good shots, and he started busting up Duraev's left eye, and it was swelling shut. And there was a takedown from Albert that he didn't really have control of, didn't do much. And in the second round, Buckley was able to damage that eye enough to where Duraev couldn't come out for round 3. So the fight got stopped. The damage on that eye was pretty bad. His eye just it's just swole up shut, and it just swole up on him. Yeah, we can look at it here. Yeah, his eye was completely swollen shut. He just wasn't able to see. Fight couldn't go on anymore. So, he was losing the fight anyway. Do I think he could have won that fight if he, got his shit together and got the grappling going? Maybe, but he lost that second round so convincingly he would have needed to finish anyway. So good for Joaquin Buckley. 2 wins in a row for him. Let's get it going. I love watching that guy fight. He's very exciting. All right. Not a finish in this fight, but Damir Ismagulaov versus Guram Wait, hold on. I know this one. Kutateladze. Good grief. Oh, man. I know how to pronounce the name, and I heard it a bunch. Guram Kutateladze, the Georgian Viking. This fight, I wrote a note this matchup, this matchup must have been just a way to try and make sure nobody could pronounce anything correct when they booked this. That being said, this fight was Kazakh is that guy's name, but with Q's. Okay. This fight. Hold on, what is it? Oh, yeah, so the note that I wrote at the end of this fight. So Ismagulaov ended up getting the decision here. We're going to break this down because I don't necessarily agree with everything that happened. I don't agree with the scorecard. We're going to go analyze that scorecard real quick. But as far as I'm concerned, this might have been one of the highest level striking MMA matches on this card. Just the amount of technical proficiency, it was just beautiful to watch, right? If you did not watch this fight because, it's two guys whose names aren't necessarily known in Ismagulaov and Kutateladze, I recommend going back and watching this. If you are into MMA, if you are into MMA proper, and you're not just looking for knockouts and finishes and stuff, I understand there wasn't a knockout and there wasn't a finish in this fight. And, they were punching each other a lot, but nobody was getting necessarily rocked or knocked down. And it wasn't this big sloppy brawl. I get all that. But if you are into MMA and you want to see some high-level striking, high-level chess match level stuff, this is what you go watch. If you have a friend who's interested in the UFC, I wouldn't necessarily show them this fight first, but I would definitely put it in your back pocket for a time when someone is making an argument that these guys just go in and they don't have a high skill level, right? This isn't like boxing where boxing's so technical and it's the sweet science and all that. This is perfection. All right, so Guram was landing 3 or 4 piece combos, ending with a leg kick multiple times in that first round. I thought he did a relatively good job extending his combinations and landing damage. Guram was landing some really hard knees in the clinch and elbows that hurt Damir. Damir kept squinting with his right eye the whole round, and I didn't know why. But anyway, I gave that first round to Guram. If you want to look at the total striking numbers, it does play out in that way, 26-21 in favor of Guram. I also had him on damage as well. So Damir was avoiding many of the big shots and outlanding Guram to start the second round. And Guram just really started to wear the damage on the bridge of his nose. It doesn't mean that you're losing the fight necessarily, but he was showing the damage. And that Damir eye thing, he would go like this. Right, he would squint and then look over to the right. I think it might be a twitch, or some sort of nervous tick that he has. It could be a muscular, a muscular issue. It could be something neurological, but it doesn't look good watching that fight. Seeing a guy with a twitch like that, unless it's a nervous tick or some part of his normal striking thing. He's okay, reset. If you ever watch people play the piano or certain people, playing the piano is the easiest one for me. People do it when they sing as well, but piano is because they're not singing or they're not doing anything with their mouth, right? They're not singing, they're not actively moving around, and you'll see them make weird. My daughters play piano, so I see them doing this already, but they make these weird movements with their eyes and their mouths, and they kind of get into it, and it's seems like a natural progression of certain little ticks that they pick up at a young age, and when they get used to playing. And I think that could be it, but I hope that's it, is what I want to say, because if it's a neurological thing, that's not good, man. Let's look out for it in the next fight. Maybe he took some damage to a nerve that caused that problem, but let's look out for it in the next fight. Remember that. If you see Damir doing that again, I think there needs to be a discussion about what's actually going on. There needs to be an investigation. Make sure we're not going to be doing permanent damage to this guy. What a technical fight. I wrote that down again. Herb. Okay, here's the in that second round, Damir did more damage. I just had him on top doing more damage. 30-23 numbers play that out as well. So I had it even going into this third round. Here's the problem. Herb made a mistake in this third round when Guram landed a knee to the chest that looked like it was to the head. It was very hard. This is not on Herb. Herb made a mistake, but from his angle, he couldn't see that the knee actually hit the chest because the leg touched, the thigh of Guram Kutateladze when he threw the knee. The knee landed to the chest, and the the thigh touched the chin. So from that motion, when Damir was, recoiling from the shot, it looked like he was struck in the head. So it is not that, especially in real time, it's hard to judge. Herb did not go look at the replay, oddly enough, and did not, verify. He just gave him a hard warning. I'm glad he didn't take a fucking point, because if he took a point, I would have been really pissed. Like, you need to go back and verify before you do that shit, because there was no foul. But anyway, this third round, because of the damage coming from Guram, I gave it to him. I felt like he had the edge on damage. He was doing a better job in the clinch. He had more control. And yeah, the problem is Guram was also attacking the legs a lot, which a lot of judges don't look at as proper damage. I gave it to Guram, but that's also because I know that knee was legal, whereas the judges interpreted it as illegal because of what Herb said. So if you gave this last round to Damir, I'm totally on board. Totally fine with it. Easy peasy. It's not a robbery by any stretch of the imagination. I'm okay with it. That being said, scorecards here. Damir ended up, like I said, getting the split decision. Doug Crosby, okay, we'll go over. But this Jason Staffen guy giving it 30-27 to Damir, I don't know what he was smoking, but that's a bad call. It really was. Damir got rocked in that. He got hurt in that first round, got outstruck. There was nothing that Damir did in that first round to let me know that you can argue that he won anything. And you want to go look at the scorecards here. See, that first round, both judges, even the ones who saw the fight going, Doug Crosby and Chris Lee, seeing the fight going in either direction, right? One of them giving it to Damir, one of them giving it to Guram. Both gave Guram the first round, which is the right call. The third round is the close one, and that's the one that they were split on. Chris Lee and Doug Crosby did a good job right here. Jason Staffen was not fucking paying attention. Bad call, bad judging, and he's not going to get blamed for, like I said, I say this all the time, because this was a close fight, and this is kind of going to fly under the radar. Nobody's going to go after this guy and be like, oh, he needs his... Like, no one's going to say anything, and no one's going to talk about this, so I'm talking about it. Anyway, great fight, though. That doesn't take anything away from the fight for me. I thought the fight was fantastic. It was fun to watch. And honestly, it's one of those fights where I might go back and watch it again. It was so technical, and I would love to break down more of that for myself, just like learning technical proficiencies when it comes to striking and defense. I thought it was fantastic. Go watch it if you did not. All right, Julian Marquez taking on Gregory Rodrigues. So, this fight was all action. Julian Marquez got the worst of it and ended up getting knocked out. Rodrigues was landing some really big shots early, dropped Marquez with a straight left, and then Marquez got up and started swinging back and landed a few of his own, landed really good shots, and then Marquez got dropped twice and then worked back up again. Finally, Marquez went down, and it was just a sloppy, good, light, heavyweight fun. Like, that's just, not everything has to be a technical masterpiece like the Ismagulaov Kutateladze fight, right? Kutateladze fight. This is sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's fun just to have a blast and watch two guys throw big looping punches and almost knock each other out a bunch of times. Room for all. I love it all. I really do. And I can enjoy it. That was fun to watch. I would go back and, if you missed this card, you really did miss out. You need to go back and watch this stuff. All right. First fight on the main card here, Tony Kelley taking on Adrian Yanez. Yeah, Yanez, being from Texas, got a huge pop from the crowd. Yanez rocked Kelley early. Kelley moved forward and busted up Yanez a little bit, even though he was rocked. And then Yanez, again, Kelley got rocked again, and Yanez got the finish and just would not let up. Apparently, there was some bad blood before this. Tony Kelley was talking shit. Everybody hated him, blah, blah, blah. I'm not into that stuff. I don't really care as far as this fight goes. I thought, it was fun for what it was, and it lasted as long as it did. So congratulations to Yanez. That dude is a banger, and I love watching him fight. Okay. That is it. That is it for the main card. If you're looking for the prelims, that'll be on the next video. I appreciate y'all. I really do. Subscribe to the channel if you like this stuff. If you made it this far, I know you're going to love everything I do. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Subscribe, like the video. like I said, and if this is the only video you watch, if you're looking for the PFL that was in the last video, if you are PFL 4, if you are looking for the prelims, like I said, that's in the next one. If this is the only video that you watch, I appreciate you for stopping by. Love y'all, and I hope you have an amazing week.